I'll bet dollars to donuts that you could service this dropper post. Hey folks, we are back with another video, and today we are going to be servicing a Oneup dropper post. These posts I love. They are super easy to service. They work great for the money. You cannot go wrong. All they need is a little bit of attention every once in a while in order to keep them fresh inside so it can slide up and down as smoothly as possible. In this video, I'm going to be starting off as far as removing this post from the bike in the simplest way, and then we're going to be servicing it. So before we get started, let's go into the tools and parts that might be needed for the job. As for tools, not many tools needed. We're going to start off with order of use. So first, to remove the post from the bike, chances are you're going to need a 4mm Allen at minimum, right? For the remote screw that's holding the remote to the handlebar, and possibly for your seat collar, a 4mm, or like my seat collar, a 5mm. This could vary based off the bike, okay? So we remove the post from the bike. Now we got to separate the collar on the post. If your collar's too tight, you can't do it by hand, you're going to need a strap wrench. I highly recommend, well, you could do it with a channel lock, but you might mar the hell out of it. So you're better off with a strap wrench, right? These are cheap. So I never tighten them down with a strap wrench. I'm always able to remove them with my hands, so I won't need a strap wrench. The actuator at the bottom, 15mm wrench or a channel lock or a Nipex. Just be careful not to overmar it. Inside there's going to be 2 set screws, and honestly I can't remember if it's going to be a 2 or a 2.5mm Allen. We'll find out. Something tells me it's a 2mm Allen. Watch it be a 2.5. Then something blunt to remove the pins so we can replace them. A dowel will come in handy with paper towel and alcohol in order to clean the seat tube itself. Well, the seat tube, the main tube of the dropper, and then a lot of towels and alcohol to clean up the grease from everywhere else. As for parts needed, in my case, I'm replacing everything. I got the V2 dropper rebuild kit, which includes a new collar and bushings plus new pins for the job. All right. Well, let's open up this seat post. All right, to remove the post, we do not need to remove the shifter cable from the actual cable housing, right? Or disconnect the shifter cable from the remote. The easiest way to do this, in my opinion at least, is we separate the remote if you have it on the handlebar, whether it's like mine where it's attached to my brake, or if it's in its own clamp on the handlebar. In my case, I need a 4mm Allen in order to remove the bolt holding onto the shifter, right? So then I'm just going to pass this around to the outside here. Okay. Next, we are going to loosen our collar, our seat collar. In my case, 5mm Allen. Yours might be a 4. Those are the 2 most common. And I'm just going to loosen it enough to move the tube. But before I actually remove the tube, I'm going to take some black tape, just electric tape, and mark the base in order to be able to put the seat back to where it was before we took it out. All right. So you can do this before you loosen it, just in case it slips. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the seat tube as I'm pushing in the housing, right? Now mine's going to be stiff only because of the way these ibises are done. But ultimately, because I have the bottom over here. Okay. A little bit more. Yours is going to be different. All bikes are routed differently. Some bikes, this is much easier than others. I'm going to nearly there. That's one thing I got to admit I love about wireless droppers. You don't have to worry about any of this. Yeah, there we go. A little bit more to make my life easier. All right, so once we have them up here, at this point, we could just disconnect by pressing down the actuator and removing the cable. If you don't have enough room, then what you do, loosen your cable by spinning it counterclockwise and taking out all the slack. Now I have more slack, and now I could remove it, and I don't have to worry about removing my shifter cable. All right, next, let's work on the dropper. First, we're going to start off with removing the collar. Again, you might need a strap wrench. I never do it too hard. I tie it down to a point where I could do it by hand to remove it, okay? Then I take my 15 millimeter. This might be a little bit of a crack. And I loosen the actuator and unscrew this thing. All right, pick up our collar, and inside you'll see in here we have 2 screws, right? They're 2 set screws. Were they 2 millimeters? Yes, they were 2 millimeters. Yay. Grab my driver, and we remove these 2 set screws. That's one. And that is 2. All right, now we can remove our actuator. Actually, just lift the whole post. Actuator comes out. Let's put it on the side. Take our bumper, put it on the side, and in here we have our piston. Put it on the side. Now be careful. We could take out our tube. Okay, that's empty. It's looking good inside. Put that on the side. All right, now we have all our old components. So I'm going to start off first. Let's remove this bottom bushing here. Actually, first, before I get mega greasy everywhere, let's clean any excess grease over here. Okay, put that guy on the side. Now we can remove our old pins. 3 of them. Again, use a blunt tool over here. Make sure not to scratch your post. Pins are out. Now we will separate with a split ring right here. Could just do it with our fingers, really. Take out the split ring. Take out the bushing. Take out the old collar. Now, technically, these are usable. In fact, this is actually in pretty decent condition. So I could easily flip this up. When this starts getting bad is when you start seeing, for instance, deep gouges in the plastic. Like you can see it's already gouging, but worst case scenario, you could always turn it around the other way for another, significant amount of use. So since I got a kit, I'm going to be replacing all these parts, so I won't be needing all of them. But again, you could save all these parts, re-grease them, clean them real well, and reuse them and put them back in the post, okay? Next, we start cleaning. So first we'll start off with the post itself. Since this is the easier one, put alcohol on it. Clean inside the pin guides. 3. Clean inside the bushing. Clean the shaft. Let's clean the actuating piston. Clean the base of the actuator. Might as well clean our set screws. Just a little bit. And there's nothing to clean over here. All right, so this guy's done. Then we clean the main tube. Okay, so we're going to do this. Paper towel. Now here we don't want it to be a perfect ball. We want a lot of little corners in order to be able to get into the guides and clean the guides if possible. So this will take a few shots to get done. Okay, just like that. Push them through. That's where the dowel comes in handy. That's one. That is 2. Oh wow, he's super clean inside. He is totally, totally clean inside after too. That's great. Sometimes you could take 3 or 4 to get. I try and get as much of the dirt and grease from in between those guides out as possible. Let's clean our threads. Okay. Top threads. Let's clean the bottom threads for the actuator. Oh yeah, he's great. And we are ready to put it back together. So I opened my kit and I put everything in order of installation, starting with the wiper, top bushing, bottom bushing, tube, pins, piston, actuator, bumper, and the actuator itself, okay? So for starters, we're gonna grab our guide, our wiper, put a little bit of grease on the concave side on the inside. So it's concave, fill up the concave portion, okay? All right. Now, we're going to take them, roll them inside. It's going to be a little bit stiff because this one's a brand new one. And there we go. All right. Now, a little bit of grease on the shaft. Now we're going to take our top bushing and put them in. All right, there we go. Leave them just like that. Now we're going to take grease. I'm going to put it around the bottom bushing seat. Then we're going to take our bottom bushing and use split ring, and we put them in. All right. Now, some more grease around the outside over here. Okay. Now we're going to grab our tube. So again, actuator sides on the bottom, top part, or the dropper goes onto the top part, okay? Now, we need the rear of the post. What we're going to do is we're going to find one of these guides over here. Right, we're going to put it to the middle of the rear of the post. Then we're going to take the rear of the post over here, and it's got a guide. And we're going to align those two guides. There we go. And now we're in. Okay. So next, we're going to put grease in our pin seats. Okay. And we're going to take our new pins, in my case, and we're going to put them in. Bring them all the way down. All the way down, and all the way down. All right. Now, oops, see, that's why we want to put. Now, we're going to sink the whole thing in. You might have to twist it a couple of times. There we go. All right. Now for good luck, let's put a little bit more grease over here. And then close them up just a little bit. Actually, sink them in a bit, okay? So, and there's a reason for that. Now, take our piston, put it in flat side. There's a rounded side and a flat side. Flat side goes inside. Rounded side goes outside. And on the rounded side, we are going to put some grease because this is what the actuator touches. We're going to put our bumper. Probably should put grease before the bumper. There you go. A little bit of grease. Okay. Camera overheated. So let's put the actuator in. So we have our actuator. If you noticed in the holes, there's threaded sides and non-threaded sides. The threaded sides face you. Okay. So we put this guy all the way down to the end, right? Make sure he's at the end. The actuator will lift up, right? Then we take our screw, we put him in the threaded side because the other side is basically a set screw. We thread them in. Don't over tighten them, just finger tight. Okay, until he's snug. Take the other one, do the same thing. All right. Now, Again, we had recessed a little bit, right? So what you can do is recess them a little bit more, take them, makes it easier to put in on both sides, the actuator and the collar when he's a little bit sunk in, okay? So that's in there. Just tighten them by hand a little bit. There we go. Don't have to over tighten them. Then I take my collar, put him in. Make sure not to over tighten them. Well, I'll never be able to over tighten them by hand, but all right. And that's it. Then we just clean up the remainder of excess grease. Now we test them by pressing down the actuator. Okay, just like that. You can see that. And boom. 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 Remove any excess grease. And remember, after the first few rides or uses, grease will come out. Make sure to clean it just so too much dirt doesn't collect in order to make the wiper's job more difficult. All right. She's done, ready to go back onto the bike. As for putting the seat post back on the bike, so we have our actuator, right? Now we have our cable and there's a barrel at the end of the cable. Make sure the barrel is sitting at the end of the cable, the ferrule piece over here, okay? Or whatever it's called. Well, it's a barrel on a barrel, I guess. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna actuate the actuator, right? And then we're gonna take the barrel, we're gonna put it inside, we're gonna stretch it down, and then it'll sink inside. All right, now from here, we're gonna sink the post and pull up the cable at the same time. Again, each bike is gonna be different here. Some bikes are much easier than others. All right, this one is a little bit more challenging than most, only because the angles of the cables. All right, there we go. Now, I have my tape. I know exactly how far down I need to go, right? Once the tape bottoms out, boom, right around there. Straighten out your seat. Grab your 5mm or 4mm, depending on your collar, tighten them down, fist tight. All right. All that's left is to set up the remote. As for the remote, I'm gonna grab the whole cable, route them. Then, in this case, I have my 4mm screw, and I had him on the most outside hole, right? So there's 3 holes in order to adjust in and out. I personally like a little bit further out. Screw them in. Now this guy should be around 4 Newton meters, so around fist tight. And then, remember my cable barrel? What I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten my cable barrel by turning him counterclockwise this way. 1, 2, well, you don't have to count them. Basically, what we are going to do is test them. To test them, we're going to actuate them, right? So right now, I don't even have to press my remote and the seat goes down. That tells me that I've tightened the cable way too much, so I need to back it out. Back it out from this side is, well, clockwise, looking at it from this way, right? So let's back it out to a point where it doesn't go down anymore. There he goes, right? So now I press him. And the question is, how sensitive do you like it? I like my post super sensitive with the slightest touch. I don't want no slop. And right there, that's where I'm at. I barely have to touch it. In fact, I can go a little bit tighter. Or what you can do is this, loosen it. And when he comes up, you know it's too loose, right? So he goes down. So then we could tighten it a couple of clicks. And that's as tight as it's gonna get. Doesn't go down, but if I tap it, like not even a tap, it goes down. And that's it, folks. That is servicing a one-up dropper post. And that's the easiest way I can think of taking it off a bike without having to disconnect the cable and take out the cable. It's just a big pain in the butt that way. This way is a lot simpler. Could do the job in no time flat. All right, highly recommend it. Droppers are awesome, one of the greatest bike inventions. Just keep them fresh and they will do you just fine. So if you like the video, please click the like button, guys. It would be super appreciated. Click the subscribe button to see more videos. Click the bell button, bing, 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 in order to get notified when videos get released, and more videos are coming, all right? So until then, hope all is well, and we will be talking to you soon. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.